Hey everybody, my name is Brittany. I started studying the Bible in April of 2017, and when I first started, I knew absolutely nothing. It was a lot of information, a lot to understand. It was sometimes even stressful. So I wanted to start a Bible for Beginners Bible study and go over the basic overview of the Bible, not go into a lot of details, just tell you what's in here, where it is, so when you want to know, you can look at it. Last week we talked about the book of Judges, where Israelites sinned, they asked for forgiveness, God sends them a judge, they go back to their righteous ways, the judge dies, they start sinning again, so on and so forth. We talked about all of them except for one, and that person is Sampson. And I'm sure you've heard of him. He was the strongest man. And he was amazing. You can find his story still in the book of Judges. But let's talk about him. So we've got the Israelites as a people, and then we've got the Philistines who are now over them. And the Philistines are ruling over the Israelites for 40 years. The angel of the Lord came down and told a couple, Manoah and his wife, that they would have children, that they would have a son. They had no children. She wasn't able to have children, so this was, a big surprise. And that son would be dedicated to the Lord, and he would be a Nazarite. Nazarites have to, they are held to higher standards. So when she was pregnant with him, she couldn't eat anything from the vine, no unclean food, and no fermented drink. When he was born, he also had to follow these rules. And he also was not allowed to touch anything dead. He wasn't allowed to cut his hair. So he did all those things. He abided by all the rules. But when he grew up, he fell in love with a Philistine woman. They're still over the Israelites, so you can see how this is difficult on both ends. You've got the Philistines who think they're up here, the Israelites who are down here, and Sampson falls in love with a woman of the Philistines. But his parents went ahead with him anyway to meet this woman, and they took a journey to meet her, and on the way, Sampson killed a lion with his bare hands. That is how strong he was. And left the carcass there. Excuse me. Now on a later trip to see her, because they lived in two different parts, so it was a ways to see her, right? He saw that lion. And this time, a honeycomb had been built in it, and he reached in to get some and eat some honey, which this was touching a dead animal. Another story of Sampson is he and his wife now, he married the Philistine woman, he and his wife were sitting around having dinner, and he tried to trick his dinner guests with a riddle. But his wife went behind his back and told the answer. So because they guessed his riddle, it was like a truth and dare kind of thing, because he guessed this riddle, or they guessed his riddle, he had to pay them. Samson had to go kill 30 men and get their garments, their clothes. Again, touching dead people. This whole thing made Sampson very angry with his wife, of course, because it's kind of like she went behind his back, and so her father gave her away to another man. Well, this angered Sampson, so he tied torches to 150 pairs of foxes and let them loose in the Philistines' crops, and it burned them all to the ground. So you see, this is just building anger upon anger upon anger upon anger. Well, this angered the Philistines, of course, right? So the Philistines killed Sampson's wife and her father. And then, excuse me, it was a long day apparently. Then the Philistines came to the Israelites and demanded Sampson. So the Israelites tied Sampson up and gave him over to them. But strong Sampson, he broke the ropes and killed all 1,000 of those men with a donkey's jawbone that he found laying on the ground. Sampson did have a weakness though, and it was women. After his wife was killed, he fell in love with another woman named Delilah, and she was kind of like a Philistine spy. She was paid to figure out the source of Sampson's enormous strength. She would ask, he would lie to her. She'd tell the Philistines they tested out trying to take it from him, and it wouldn't work. So process over and over again. Finally, he did tell her the truth, that it laid within his hair. And so the Philistines broke in one night when Sampson was asleep at Delilah's and arrested him. She cut his hair. She cut his hair while he was asleep. The Philistines came in and arrested him. He obviously tried to fight, but lost his strength thanks to Delilah. And they gouged his eyes out and put him in prison. The Philistines gathered to worship their God and bought Sampson out as entertainment. So he is blind and bound and has no strength. They tied him between two pillars, in which he pushed down. He asked God for just strength just one more time, because he knew he'd messed up and he just wanted one more chance to make everything right again. So God gave him that strength, and he was able to push down the two pillars and sent the whole temple crumbling down, on top of about 3,000 Philistines, and of course himself too. There are a lot of movies, a lot of stories about Sampson, but if you read it in the Bible, it really comes to life. There are a few movies that depict it as well as it is displayed in the book of Judges. I'm trying to see exactly what chapters. So Judges chapters 13, 14, 15, and 16. So Judges chapters 13 through 16, it looks like. Okay. Well, next week we're going to skip a little bit, I think. So let me see what next week is. Oh, no. Okay. Next week is Ruth. So it'll be the next book. And it's only two books of the Bible named after women. Ruth is one of my top 3, 4 women in the Bible. Really, really love Ruth. I love the book of Ruth. And it's wonderful to dive into, especially for women to read. I hope you guys have a great week, and God bless.